Hello, everybody, and welcome to the United Stand. I'm joined by Adam. Adam, how are you?
Yeah, pretty good. As good as can be. Did the morning show this morning. Got a lot off my chest. Literally, still got half a page of notes that I didn't even get through. We had that much to talk about. Went for a run, fell in a puddle. Came back, got a shower, and away we go. We carry on. Let's do it.
I know I was actually watching your morning show a little bit before, and I was thinking, oh my God, you're getting into so many good points that I was hoping to cover a little bit over today, but you even said yourself you didn't manage to get fully into it. But before we get into the chaos of what is Manchester United at the moment, and I think we both are so frustrated, I think everybody watching right now is really frustrated with what's going on. There is a few transfer stories out that we're going to have to cover straight away. And do you know what? It's actually really exciting for a lot of our viewers, because I know a lot of our viewers really rate this midfielder that we have been linked to, which is Ruben Neves. Alex Cook apparently saying that Manchester United are interested in him. A lot of times when we've had Romano on the show, he said that Neves is in Manchester United's list of midfielders. He's just never been priority. He's never been at the top. He comes to Old Trafford again and puts in a very good performance. He usually does every time he plays there. He's a very highly rated midfielder. He's Premier League proven. Do you think that is somebody that we could actually go and get in January? And how much would he improve the team? Is he the type of person you'd want to go after and go and get?
I've always rated him, Beth. I think last 2 years we've been talking, and Neves has been on our so-called priority list or midfielder list for 2 years, and transfer windows within them 2 years. And I've always rated him. I've always disliked him when he's played us, which is a good indication of how good he is. He's a little slime ball on slide as well. I'll kid you not. I've been many a times many a times to Molineux. He's ran the show there. You all seen what he did at Old Trafford again the other night as well. He pretty much runs everything. Him and Moutinho are a fantastic combination. I just feel like, and I don't want like opposition fans or Wolves fans especially to take this the wrong way, because Wolves are where they are. They're not going to get any better, I don't think, personally. And he's one of them players that I think he's ready for the next step. He's at the right age for the next step. And I think, you know what, even if it isn't United, because we're obviously in a worse place than Wolves are right now, he is ready for that. I think one of the top teams in the league, or a team even in another league, one of the top teams. The Portugal connection sort of does highlight a sort of appeal in a way, but we'll get onto it in a bit, Beth. Apparently, the Portuguese connection is what's causing a bit of a rift between a lot of our squad at the moment. So maybe that isn't a pull. And looking at it from afar, from his side of things, does he want to come in right now for the added pressure of being that midfielder that the hopes of all of Old Trafford are riding on? Because that's pretty much what this position is, Beth, isn't it?
Honestly, I feel like it's one of them positions where week in, week out, with that desperate now. I mean, I rate Ruben Neves as well. I think he's a very good player. And do you know what? I was looking at him before when this news came out. He's only 24 years old.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was older than that. I mean, no offense to him, looks a bit older than that. But like, I was looking at 24. He's not even in his prime yet, and he's playing this well already. You look at, not to completely compare, but you're going to have to look at Scott McTominay. How old is he now? 23, 24? And he's, for me, miles behind him in a lot of aspects of the game. And you think about it, it's someone that you could really go out and get, and you could kind of mold him into who you want to be. He's still got time to evolve, and I just think it'd be a really good person to buy. But then you talk about the Portuguese connection, which, I mean, you look at a team like Wolves, how many Portuguese players do they have? I mean, Conor Cody's their captain. They still look like they're all together. They still look like they've got a great vibe going on, and they've got that team spirit. It's just, is that really an excuse you can use?
I mean, there's no excuse really in football, in my opinion, Beth. There isn't. They're just a well-drilled, oiled machine to the level that they are, Wolves. I think their ceiling is around about 6th or 5th in the Premier League at best. And I do believe a lot of their players at one point will look at it and go, right, okay, I'm not going to get any further in my career. And Neves, being the age he is, like you said, he's ready. He's more than ready. He was ready 2 years ago, in my opinion. He's a player who can take the ball from the back. He's a player that can dictate the game. He's got a great delivery, as we all know. David De Gea will vouch for that. He's done him a few times. Excuse me.
You know what, as well?
Go on,
people
Beth,
in the comments are saying Scott's actually 25, and that's what I mean. Like, you think Scott is younger than what he is. I thought he's 23, 24. He's 25 now. you've got to kind of evaluate your options. Donny's 23, I know that, and Neves is 24. You've got to have a midfield that are ready to evolve. And if these players who, I know we've not bought Neves, but he's a possibility and he's someone we could go and get. If these players have more potential than our current players at the ages they are, which I think Fred's about 28 or something, so late 20s at least, you've got to think what is next for the future and who he's going to develop into a better player.
That's it, Beth. That's the whole problem at the moment. I wish we were talking in normal circumstances about genuine targets right now, but really it's just clutching at straws and hope for us. We are looking at players that we know will work, but honestly, until some of the players leave, I don't think it's a safe environment for anyone coming in. They're going to get the bumper deal. They're going to get the big wage. We are going to have our asses slapped for any sort of price for any player, because everyone knows that Manchester United are in the desperation category, because we're literally trying to find any sort of solution and buy our way out of this problem that we've got. And it's going to take more than that. It really is. And players like Neves at his stage of his career, this is a big, big move. It has to be a right one for him. I would take him tomorrow. I would. I really would. I just hope. No, I'm not even going to talk about hope on that side of it, because we're not going to probably get him.
It kills you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. We're not going to get him, in my opinion. Like I said to you, Beth, this is why what's happening now on the unrest. This is why I was worried that we won't get anyone in January, because it has to be bang on the money, and I just don't think we're set up for someone to come in and integrate straight away. And everyone expects this player coming in January to be the one that gets us back in the top four. I don't think it will. There's no one out there right now that's got that sort of that aura about them that's that next level. It's just got to fit in, and he's better than what we got in that position. But it's going to take him time, and we're too far behind for it to impact this season. But past that, he's a great signing for the future. And into next season, when we've got another manager in charge, a lot of the other players are gone. I think he's ideal for us, Beth. And he's just got that ready-made Premier League nous that is vital and is priceless right now. Everyone always, and I said it, and a lot of people agreed through all the last 2 years, like I said, that he's ideal. He fits this club so well. And I do believe him and Bruno and that partnership there, I'd give anything to have an organised setup like Wolves have got right now. I really would.
Well, we'll get on to if Premier League proven is the ideal factor for Manchester United right now, because I've been thinking about it myself. When you look at players coming in, taking time to adapt, we need someone that can come in and do it now, and Premier League proven does seem to be the way forward. We've got a super chat here from Andy and Bruno. Afternoon, Beth and Adam. Neves would be a superb signing, infinitely better than Fred. Better still if Moutinho comes free with him. I mean, that super chat there for me is example. I tweeted out the other day, and a lot of people were saying, I was saying, if you look at the midfield options in that role that Manchester United are struggling with now, throughout the whole league, you look at it, and you struggle to find ones that are worse. And that is a problem when you're trying to fight for top four and you're trying to fight for major trophies. You look at the names we have: Varane, Ronaldo, Sancho, Cavani. You look at these names and you think, wow, what a great team. But then you actually just come down and zoom in on that midfield, and it's one of the worst in the Premier Leagues when you actually deep it and think about it. And that is, for me, until we sort this out, that is a problem that's going to reoccur. And I think sometimes a small problem like that, midfield, most important part on the pitch, can really, really kind of spread throughout the whole team, and people are getting frustrated with each other when realistically, I think that's one of the main options that really definitely needs solving.
I mean, that's it, Beth. It's trust. Your midfield needs to be trusted. I would take any midfield partnership in the top 10 in the Premier League over what we've got. Any of them. You can go through a lot of them. I used an example the other day of a midfield. Is our midfield any worse than Henderson, Milner, and Fabinho? Fabinho, yeah, I would argue. But look at Henderson and Milner, where these guys came from. They came from Premier League clubs. We're just run-of-the-mill normal midfielders, and the coaching setup and the system and the way the team is together made them better players. It's like Salah, Mane, Fabinho, Jota. They trust that midfield. Van Dijk at the back, you know what, the fullbacks, Robinson and Trent, they trust that midfield because they would cover them when they went forward. They have a system, they have a way of playing, and it works brilliantly. It's the same at Manchester City. You can put any midfielder that they've got in that team, it carries on working like the same machine. And I had an argument with Ricky after, funnily enough, I had an argument with Ricky after the Burnley game, not Burnley game, the Wolves game the other day, sorry. And he was trying to pinpoint Bruno was the problem, as he would.
He
And I
came
was
on
saying
and
to him,
affected that game.
yeah, I know. This is just how he looks at it. He looks at the game differently to us. And I said to him, Ricky, why are you avoiding the McTominay conversation? Because I counted 6 times McTominay took possession in the opposition half and lost it. And then we've left the defence exposed because McTominay isn't good enough in the final third. Burnley is Burnley. They're absolutely awful. But McTominay is not good enough in that transition. And like I said, going back to that trust factor, Beth, the forwards need to trust that guy. The defence needs to trust that guy to give it and receive. And the transition is dead with our midfield. It doesn't work. And then you see the frustrations of Ronaldo, Bruno, and all the other players. But like you said, it's a perfect example. It's infectious and then it spreads. If the defender continuously giving the ball to them and he's giving it away and then exposing them, they've got no trust in him. And then their game starts to go a little bit more negative. And you see United in time, it just sort of drifts off into, oh, we got to revert back to the safety tactics here. Let's just play sideways passes. Let's not take that extra risk. Let's not try and win a game. But ultimately, it's going to cost us in the long run. And that's why we are where we are in the league halfway through the season, Beth. Nowhere near top 4 because, like you said, the midfield hasn't been addressed and will continuously cost us. There's a bigger problem at United at the moment, as we already know. But even if everything was settled, we would still be struggling to contend with the midfield that we've got.
Well, you can tell, can't you? Well, I can tell anyway watching the game. You can tell that a lot of players in that team don't trust each other. You can tell Maguire doesn't trust passing out to certain players. You can tell when anyone's got the ball in the centre of the pitch and Wan-Bissaka's free on that side, massively free, they don't want to pass to him because they know that they're not going to get in product. You can tell that sometimes the forward players don't trust the midfielders. You can tell by the looks on the faces. And I think ultimately, when the team doesn't trust each other, that's a massive problem in itself. And then, like you said, with the Liverpool midfield, they're not the best names that you'll ever see, but they work so well in the system that they play a lot of times. And that I was speaking to this with my friend the other day. We've got some of the best individuals, but we've bought individually good players. We've not bought players to fit a proper system and work together. And I think that's why people talk about an overhaul. People talk about another rebuild because a lot of these players cannot play together, and it's as simple as that.
I said it. Yeah, sorry, Beth. Go on, Karen.
No, go on. You go on.
I was saying that you said it, they can't play together in the overhaul. And I posed this question at the end of my show this morning. I'll get your opinion on it as well. It's like, I do believe that, I count them off my hand now, Ronaldo, Cavani, because he's going anyway, Martial, Donny, Lingard, Pogba, 6 key players, very good players, will be out of this football club if we don't get top 4. There's no way that them players are staying around if we're not playing Champions League football. Would that be the short-term loss for the long-term game for that overhaul? Because I think we have to go backwards, Beth, to go forwards to get rid of them.
Well, that's a big one for me. I think a lot of these players, it is time to go at Manchester United. I mean, it's already been said and done. A lot of players have already said they want to leave. They're trying to run the contracts down. It's clearly not working the way it is now. And you know, sometimes, I mean, I'm going to use like a J reference here. Sometimes, like when you are in like a relationship with someone, and even though you really want it to work, it's done. Like you can't go back. There's no turning back the clock. And I feel like that is the way for a lot of these players. And I do think that we do need fresh people coming in. I think the mood needs to change. I think cliques need breaking up, and I think that could be a way to do it. I'm not saying I don't want top 4 because obviously I really do, but I do think there is players that need to leave the club. And even if they are big names, even if we know the quality players, sometimes it's just not going to work here and now, and they could work at a different club, but for us it's not working at the moment. It's not worked for a very long time. One thing I will say is I'm not adamant Ronaldo would leave if we didn't get Champions League. I know that sounds crazy, but I genuinely, I don't know. I mean, he could leave, but I'm not 100% sure he would. Because you look at it, he's not failed himself, but in a way we failed him, he's failed. It's failed in that year. Would you really want to leave it on that note is my opinion on that situation. But I know a lot of people will disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it is that, innit? I mean, he's not been afraid of leaving anywhere else. in the past. I mean, he wasn't too fussed about leaving Juventus with their end of season. And
yeah, but he's been there for quite a bit. Do you know what I mean? I generally could see him. I mean, we're not out of the Champions League yet, so it's this conversation that it's we could have it more towards the end of the season. But it's just like I can't actually see him leave after just 1 year of not. It's not been good, has it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from there. I do believe that the team, the club, everything, the way it's going. There's never been this much unrest within Manchester United. It's literally coming to a head now. And it's what Ronaldo wants, isn't it? If he's looking to retire at United, then I think he'll get the reception of the fans that he's probably looking for, that he's never had anywhere else, wherever he's been in his career. And he may look at it that way. Or he may just say, look, am I really going to be part of a failure through my whole career of success? Am I going to finish as a failure? Because it's nothing that he can do that's going to change the situation we're in. And I just feel like that will be running through his head. His love for United is going to tear him apart inside if we don't make top four and he's thinking about going. It literally will tear him apart. It's not his fault. It really isn't his fault. He's come in and I said it this morning. I said, look, he's a problem, but he's a problem for everyone else. We're not on the same standard and level as Ronaldo, and he's come in expecting standards that he's not going to be able to get from this team and this club, from the top to the bottom. I mean, I don't see anyone coming in that's going to compliment him or be on his level. And he'd be thinking right now, it's like, do I want to finish my career on this failure? Because this is where the season is going. I said before, God help us if we get beat by Villa and go out of another competition on Monday. I will want to be hiding. It goes
from bad to worse, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah, I know it's going to be a tough one. That
I feel sorry for. We'll get into it. We'll get into it soon. The super chat leads us nicely onto it, but I really do feel sorry for Rangnick at the moment. What he's come in has to deal with. It seems like it was bad, and it's just all rising now to the surface how bad it actually is. But another super chat from Andy and Bruno. No way are we getting top four. We could struggle to get top halfway. I mean, I'm guessing he means halfway of up the table. No January signings as Glazer will need spend in summer. I mean, he says no January signings, but we have got a quote here from the Telegraph from Ducker saying that Rangnick, he has been told that he could get funds, but it's whether he wants to use them funds and he wants to bring in someone of quality. Amadou Hadara has been brought up so many times. We've got to get onto it just to cover it, because he does keep getting brought up. And I mean, that is a good source that's saying that he has been given some money, that if he possibly did want to make a January signing, he would. I assume it's a small amount of money. I assume it can't be any big signings. They'll be saved for the summer. But would you take a chance on someone like that, or would you wait to get the ideal midfielder in, possibly Premier League proven? I mean, talks of Declan Rice, whether that'll happen, I don't know. But when you look at it, would you wait, or would you actually go and get someone for the now?
You've had plenty of discussions, Beth, about this, about possibly getting the right man and waiting for the right man in the summer. But I do believe we need two midfielders. A Haidara character is that ready-made sort of specialist role where he will just sit there and it'll be, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir, and listen to everything that Rangnick is running through him. It's a Rangnick signing. So on that side of it, if he comes available and we can afford him, yes, I would definitely buy him in January. I feel for him, and his character is going to be tested to the max to come into this shitstorm we have got right now. But you've got to look at it, and he's got to look at it, and he's going to go, is there ever going to be a chance to sign for Manchester United again? We don't know if Rangnick is going to be... we don't know if Rangnick's going to be in charge by the end of the season. Is he going to carry on? Is the new man coming in? I do believe that he is going upstairs and someone new is coming in, but you just never know. And then we buy that quality midfielder, the midfielder. Forget about everything else. Forget about every other position. If we didn't buy anyone in the summer, but we went out and spent the money on the midfielder, which is going to change us, I'd be a happy man. I don't care about any other position. We've got plenty of options up front. I think Greenwood is coming into his own. I really do. I think he's not thriving. He's just dealing with this situation differently to everyone else on the pitch. And people talk about body language and stuff, but I would be a bit miffed if I was took off after watching the rest of the forward line underperform. And I thought Greenwood was our best forward player against Wolves. But Greenwood there, Rashford, he needs to go away and give his head a wobble at the moment. It's the midfield, I think.
Is it me that cut out, or is it you? I was
no,
like,
that was me.
I was
that time,
like, the comments weren't loading, so I was like, have I cut out, or is it you? But go on, what were you saying?
Yeah, no, I was saying there is a signing for January. There is a signing for the summer. They're both in central midfield, Beth. Pretty much, you just got to wait. I think. Am I still here? Am I gone now? Am I here?
No, you're still here. I was just, because I was looking like that, you froze and then no comments are loading. So I was like, is it me or is it Adam? But I was like, I can't believe if it's Adam, because I'm like, oh, go on.
It happened to me this morning as well. Stupid people working from home. You can tell everyone's back in work, can't you? So I do think the money needs spending in summer in midfield, and there is money to spend right now. It's in midfield. Plow it all into that area, and that's where you start to build from, because I do believe we've got enough at the back right now. We've got plenty of cover. I know Phil Jones had to come in the other day, but extreme circumstances and whatnot. But midfield, Beth, that's where it's got to be spent.
Exactly. We know it's the midfield. It's the midfield, guys. But honestly, just my little take on that is, like, I wonder how many times you said midfield. Everyone take a shot every time Adam said midfield. Then
yeah.
Jokes. No, not on a Wednesday. But then you look at that, and when you do look at it, I think to myself, 100 million on Declan Rice. It is absurd. It is an absurd amount of money to spend on a player. But I look at him and I think, wow, he's everything United needs right now. I think he's proved this season that he wasn't overhyped. For me, he's such a good midfielder with a lot more potential. And I think he'd come in and transform the Manchester United midfield. I think we need another midfielder as well. So I'd be so up for getting these players that Ralph has looked into, and he's got such a good record with making these transfers and getting young players that are a little bit under the radar, and then bringing them into to be that player that everyone knows, that everyone agrees is a highly rated player. So I think maybe getting someone like a Kamara, Hedera, and then spending that money on someone who's Premier League proven, going all out for a Declan Rice would be two massive signings and would really strengthen the midfield massively, in my opinion. But we know that we need a midfield. We say it every day on the show. We say it every week. But do you know what? You've got to come on and say the honest truth. And when you can't find many other faults, I mean, there is a lot of other faults, but it's the main fault with the team. You've got to come on. You've got to be honest. And we all like to discuss the midfield options. And guys, obviously get in the comments what you would want our midfield transfers to be, if we even sign any, because we've been saying this for years and we've still not managed to get one. But moving on from signing midfielders, transfers, you talked about it a lot this morning, Adam, on your show. The unrest in the dressing room, these leaks that are coming out. I said myself, for weekly/daily leaks to be coming out of this club, negative ones, rarely ever positive. The players aren't happy. They don't appreciate Ralph's coaching staff. I mean, I said to myself, this man has been in charge for 37 days at Manchester United. And you look at it and you think, if the players have already turned on his coaching that quick, surely they've forgotten the definition of a manager. Surely they have, because if that was me in my position, I would want nothing more to turn this around. I would have looked at Ralph Rangnick's background, I would have understood what he's done throughout his coaching career, and then obviously what he's done when it comes to evolving players, developing players. And I would think about it and I'd say, wow, this is really time to turn it around after all the negative press we've got over the last how many months. I'm going to prove myself. We're going to go and get top four. We're going to go find the Champions League. I'm going to get my head down. I'm going to do everything this guy says for me to do. For me, it's looked like he's come in. He's said a few things that's give the players a bit of an ump, saying to Dean Henderson, you can't leave. Sorry, I need a keeper. Saying to Donny, no, I want to keep you on. Dropping players when they say that they're unsure about the future. I feel like he's come in, made some of these strong-headed decisions that haven't been made in the past. The players have had the power. He's took that power back. He's demanding a lot of them training. And because it's not clicking straight away, their attitude is to go, oh, we don't like it. Oh, he's clearly not a good enough coach. This attitude to be in the Manchester United team for me, it's massively, massively worrying that these players are actually thinking this way.
Yeah, 100% agree. I said it this morning. I said, look, there has to be something in these stories because it's ultimately showing on the pitch. And you take what happens on the training ground onto the pitch with you, and these players are not happy with the way things are going. They don't like it with someone in charge who's got a firm hand, someone who's telling them to do more and work harder. The players are very, very selfish at this football club, it would seem. They are... I mean, I'm lost of words to how to describe them. The pathetic excuses we're hearing, the moaning, the groaning, the training at certain times, they don't like this. And like I said this morning, it's like oppressive. Someone used the word this morning in describing how it is, how certain players have got more power than others, and they're overpowering and having more of a say than certain players and stuff like this. It's like, how is that? And people talking about Ronaldo being the problem and having too much of a say. He's just caught. It's excuse after excuse after excuse, Beth. It's a joke. If you had anything about you, you'd be like Phil Jones. You would put that shirt on and go, I'm going out there tonight, and I'm not the best quality. I know I'm not, but I'm going to show exactly the right mentality and the right attitude of what a Manchester United player needs to have going out at Old Trafford. The chips were down. He's playing in a shocking setup in terms of the players and where their minds are at, and he just stands up above everybody and shows exactly what it's all about. It is an absolute disgrace right now, this football club, an absolute disgrace. And for people to be calling out Ralph already after a month, it's like, seriously, give your head a wobble. People saying, what's changed? What's changed since Ollie left? I'll tell you what's not changed, and that's this playing staff that hasn't changed. And the same mentality's there. We all said that players were throwing Ollie under the bus. Ollie was part of the problem, yes, because he kept on backing them. And you know what? There's a time when you have to just say, look, and I said all along that, you know what? I want someone to come in who's just going to absolutely F things up. Just shake the hornet's nest, see what happens. Now we're seeing the true colours of everyone at the football club. And it's not nice, but in a way, it's probably a good thing to happen because now everyone is exposed. Now we're seeing the true colours. We're getting names read out now that are people that are really causing issues. And the leaks will get bigger and bigger and bigger. And for me, that's probably not a problem right now because we know we've got a massive issue. And the more names that come out and expose certain players, I'm all for it because I've had enough, Beth. I've had enough of these players.
I massively agree. I mean, when I saw a report come out, I mean, you can't say if everything is true or not true. We don't know at the moment, but there definitely will be certain things that are true. There can't be this many leaks coming out that are all completely made up. When you look at it, and I saw one that said, Manchester United are disappointed they didn't get Conte. You're disappointed you didn't get Conte. Conte would absolutely rinse his squad if he got hold of it. I mean, you look at Ralph and he looks like he's come in and he's done some damage to these players' apparently confidence. I mean, come on. You look at it and you think, wow, if Conte came in, you wouldn't be able to cope with that. I just think these players are so, I don't know what it is. I think either they think they're a lot better than what they are. I mean, do they not look back and think, they've been poor for a very long time. It's not just now that Rangnick's come in, you've suddenly got poor. It's like constantly trying to blame different factors. First of all, we're blaming COVID. First of all, we're blaming the fact that players have been away for the Euros. Next thing you know, we're blaming players for being tired. Next thing you know, we're blaming Ralph Rangnick's coaching staff and the new coaches that come in. But then we're also blaming Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's coaching staff and their coaches that have come in. I think we might have lost Adam.
Am I here or not? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're not actually on the screen.
I'm having a bit of
frozen.
internet.
Maybe if you just
meltdown.
leave, maybe if you leave and come out.
Yeah, I'm going to just
wait, will Ryan be able to add you back in though?
Yeah.
Right, okay, sound. Well, Adam's just going to go and sort out his Wi-Fi. So, I mean, I live near Adam. I understand what the Wi-Fi can be like around there. So I understand him. Hopefully he'll be back soon. But then you look at, but let me get back onto my point that I was making because I've not had a chance to come on the show and really express how annoyed I am with the fact, with the leaks that are coming out. And when you look at it, I think to myself, these leaks that are coming out, Adam's back. It's so negative. I was just saying, Adam, that it's a lot of blame going on at this football club. First of all, we're blaming the tiredness from the Euros. Next thing you know, we're blaming COVID. Next thing you know, we're blaming Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for not being strong enough in the dressing room and for not having the right tactics. Now the players are coming out and they're blaming Ralph's coaching staff and they're blaming the quality of assistants, they're blaming his tactics. How long is it before you look yourself in the mirror and think, am I working hard enough? Am I the problem? Is my attitude wrong? Because that's never come under scrutiny by anyone until possibly Luke Shaw the other night. He didn't name names, but he said that a lot of people, some people, he's not happy with their attitude and how much work they're putting in.
That's it. It's excuse after excuse after excuse. What worries me is, like, we're talking about COVID bubbles. I do think there is bubbles before COVID, Beth, and that's the players thinking that they're in this perfect world and no one can see exactly what's going on or what they're doing. We can see exactly what's going on, and it's these players down in tools and moaning and looking for an excuse. You said it before. We've had a couple of weeks in with Ralph now. Things are not going great. A lot of players are being dug out, and what do? Next thing you know, here we are. Look at it. Excuse again. Oh, it's the training methods. We're not happy with the experience of the coaches. Well, I'm sorry, beforehand we had a load of probably the biggest inexperienced coaching set up in the Premier League with Ollie and his merry men. They just want to find the next thing to say and use as an excuse. It's the same with the contracts. It's like so many players actually clinging on to contract. They don't like this. I don't like the playing time. I don't like this clause in my contract, and so on and so forth. They're moaning about absolutely everything. And you said it with Conte. The thing I took out of Conte going to Spurs was, I think Reguilon was interviewed and he said, I was training. He said it was horrible. He said it was a week from hell. And do you know what? They may want Conte because he's a name, and they wouldn't have anywhere to hide. I think Conte would be a nightmare for this squad because then they would have nowhere to hide. And you know what?
Players have said it as well, haven't they? They've said it was the worst training I've ever done, but it's the most I've ever won in my career. That is what a lot of Chelsea players have said. And sometimes you've got to sacrifice that. And you look at these players and I think, do you know what? Fair enough if you were all winning week in, week out. You were all playing amazingly on the pitch. Fair enough if you were moaning about certain things then. But one, they're not performing on the pitch. And yet they're still acting so entitled. I can't get my head around it. And when you think about different cliques, because there's got to be, I mean, there's obviously that Portuguese clique. I mean, a lot of it just comes down to age as well, like Matic, Mata, De Gea, they're a little bit older, so they're obviously going to have their little clique. Obviously, there's an English clique in there. But I think to myself, I look around and I think, who actually could it be? Is Ronaldo coming and higher standards so much that players can't live up to it and they're frustrated with having to keep these standards up every week? We will never know what it is until it fully comes out. But it's Ralph's job now to look into that squad, realise who the bad eggs are and get them out of the club and get them far away from Carrington as far as I'm concerned, because one bad egg in a changing room can massively destroy everything going on around it. It really can. One little negative pull in your mentality can really affect things. So hopefully, I mean, he's got a massive job in his hands, in my opinion, but hopefully that can happen. And it is going to get worse before it gets better, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what I said this morning? I thought it was so close to the mark. And I said, if Maguire comes back into this team, I don't think Rangnick is going to be able to change anything. Because looking at that right now, every single game, every time someone's really performed, he's kept them in the team. Can you imagine the uproar if Harry Maguire gets brought back into this team and I can't believe I'm saying it, Phil Jones, but he's putting that performance while the rest of the team were playing awful, and then Maguire walks straight back in. I would be like, oh, that just shows you exactly where there are issues and why a lot of players are kicking off. On that side of it, I would understand. I would say, if I was Phil Jones, I'd be going knocking straight on Ralph's door and saying, Ralph, mate, what is going on? How is this guy getting in ahead of me after the way I performed and what I did? And then all of a sudden, because he's the captain of the club, he walks straight back into the team. I think that decision is going to be a massive one for Ralph come Monday night. And everyone's going to be looking at it and going, ooh. And then if it goes wrong, then Ralph's got nowhere to hide as well, Beth. And then we'll start to see big cracks coming out. And that one there is one that he can avoid. And I just hope he doesn't, because there's no need to bring or change that defence. I mean, even Lindelof probably deserves to be in the team ahead of Maguire when he comes back from COVID. But I think the defence, I think we should have Varane and Jones at the back against Villa. And everyone knows I'm not Jones' biggest fan, but on performance, then that is one of Ralph's biggest training and biggest ploys that he always puts out there, and what he's built his relationship on. If you train well, you play well, you stay in the team. If he then brings Jones out, it's like he's going against everything that he's come in and said he was going to do, and he's digging himself a massive hole.
I massively agree on that fact. You look at it, he dropped Bruno, had no qualms doing that. That was a name that couldn't be dropped under Ollie. Dropped Rashford, had no qualms doing that. That was a name that couldn't be dropped under Ollie. So, yes, Maguire has got the captain's band, but for me, he doesn't make a difference. We were absolutely fine against Wolves without him. I thought we were actually better defensively without him.
We were all right at the back, weren't we? It was a forward line that was shocking.
It was a poor goal to concede, and we didn't create enough chances that we should have created. But overall, the defence, I thought, were pretty solid. I thought the fullbacks could have, especially Wan-Bissaka, could have improved their game quite a bit. But when you're talking about centre-back pairing, I thought they were played absolutely fine. I thought Phil Jones as well, the attitude that he had and the desire he had to actually go on that pitch and prove himself, that's what every single player's desire should be every single game. They should want to leave everything out on the pitch every single game. And when you look at that, and I saw a super chat before and I didn't quite have a chance to read it out, but it said Phil Jones understands because he played under Sir Alex Ferguson. He gets it when he comes back. And yeah, fair enough. He's not the biggest quality. We've all said maybe he shouldn't play for Manchester United anymore. 100%, I get that. But when he gets given his chance to, I can't criticise how he came on, how his mentality was that game. And that's what you expect everyone's mentality to be, especially when you're looking at your £80 million captain that hasn't shown that kind of intensity since I can remember, realistically. So I think Ralph's got massive, massive problems on his hands. I think Eric Bailly, again, would be another one who'd be peed off if he came straight back in and he's not even got another look in. I know he's injured at the moment going off to AFCON, but it's just these players constantly getting shoved out because of the names of certain other players. It must be frustrating. It really must be.
Oh, yeah, ultimately. And you can see that. I can understand that side of it, like I said, with Phil Jones then. I can understand how players would be really wound up for certain players getting more game time than them and seeing them continuously fail, because they have. It is a failure. Most of these players, like I said before, I mean, apparently it's senior players who are kicking off, or not kicking off, but saying it's the worst atmosphere in the training ground that it's been since they've been there. I sort of said, I think that must be the likes of De Gea and Jones, because senior players, for me, are the ones that have been there the longest. Lo and behold, they're our best two players that we've seen the last few weeks. But they've been under 6-7 managers now, both of them. They've seen everything at Manchester United. They've seen players come and go. And you know what? They'd be players I would actually listen to and say, look, okay. And they're the players that if I was Ralph, I'd be going to and saying, listen, how is this? What's this happening here? What can you tell me to try and help this sort of environment out? The few and far between now. And slowly but surely, Beth, we've just gone through the last decade and we've just lost our identity completely. And it's just become a player says this and player power summer camp. That's exactly what it is. And that is a prime example. If Harry Maguire comes in against Aston Villa on Monday night, I would be absolutely fuming. I mean, I look at Donny and I say, I know Ralph said he's not going anywhere, but he has to improve. Obviously, he's not seen enough in training. I've seen Fred being dropped for 2 games now as well, which is interesting. So you can see he is doing certain things in there. And the biggest one, obviously, is Ronaldo, the likes of Cavani, why Greenwood was subbed off first. Again, I can see the players kicking off at that sort of issue, because I would kick off if I was Greenwood. I would say,
yeah, I'd be fuming in that game.
Yeah, Sancho did nothing. Sancho was horrendous in that game for me. So was Cavani and Ronaldo, but Greenwood's the one who gets lynched. So for me, that's where I think Ralph has to try and balance it. But like you said before, it's an immense job to try and handle these egos. And the man himself, Mr. Paul Pogba, was not even back on the training ground yet. And I said it before, it's like throwing a lion into a tiger pit. Oh, God. He has got a job.
I just saw a comment then that said, you talk about Phil Jones rather than the real problem. Do you remember the games he did? Yes, I do. I'm not saying that Phil Jones should start every single game. What we're trying to say is the problem is his mentality compared to every other player on that pitch. And the fact is, if you play a good game and you're playing well, you deserve to have your place based on merit. How frustrating would it be for a player to know that they can come in, give everything and play amazing, but they'll still get dropped again next game for other players that aren't playing as well? Exactly, it is demoralising. That is what I can understand. But when you look at it, I mean, I'm not saying Phil Jones should start every game. I'm just saying people should look at his mentality and should take that on board from that game, because that's what they should be doing every single week. Going to finish up the show in a minute, but Adam, one thing I wanted to ask you is, because we're talking about solutions here, is there anything, if you were in Ralph's position right now, is there anything drastic that you would do to try and solve this?
Drastic? Oh, there's plenty of drastic things I would do. There's plenty of drastic things. But I do believe it's not all of the players. I do believe that there are a few in there causing problems. It's the likes of, I mean, I look at Fred and I go, not enough quality, but would never kick up a stink. I look at that sort of character and I go, you know what? He's not going to be one who's causing Ralph a problem. He's been dropped the last 2 games, so I don't know. I could be completely wrong there, but do you know what, Beth? I would just, I would bring in a drastic side. It's never going to happen, by the way, so don't go crazy on me for saying this. I would bring in youth players and just say, look, if you're not going to perform, if you're not going to listen, if you're not going to train the right way, then I'm going to start afresh with these young lads, and they will listen and they will do exactly what they've been told on the pitch. For me, he's just in such a difficult spot, and with it now in January, I don't think he's going to be able to implement anything right now. It's kind of like a massive crossroads. Can I get players out? Do I need these players because I'm going to be short on numbers? It is a really difficult situation and a bad time to come in, really, for Ralph. So I don't see him being able to do anything. I would literally just start dropping the players and saying, look, it just go off what he knows, go off exactly how he's run his whole career and coached. If you are not performing on the training ground, if you're not willing to do what I said, there is a young lad there who will come in your position and do that job. And you know what? The crowd will get behind him, Beth. They will. If they see youth players coming in because the first teamer, a prima Madonna, is not happy. If they see a youth player come in, you'll get an amazing atmosphere at Old Trafford, and the fans will back him 100%. And then the players will look at it and go, oh, yeah, that I can't really ignore that. And that is something that I'm going to have to try and sort out, because this young lad here is taking a 200 grand a week player's spot in the first team. That is a statement. I don't think it'll happen. But from a fan side of it, we don't see the ins and outs and the difficulties of everything that goes on at the club. That's what we would probably do. And you know what? Would it be any worse, Beth?
Well, exactly. That is the facts that I come across now. When you look at it and you think, we're playing poor football every week anyway. There's a lot of individuals that have been poor for a while. If these players' attitudes and mentality aren't right, I would be 100% behind dropping them, getting youth players in to come in and play that actually want to play for the shirt and actually want to prove something. I said, I mean, I don't know if it's any of the forward players that are kicking up a fuss, but I'd say I'd play Elanga. I would play Elanga if any of them don't have the right attitude. When it comes down to the midfield, bring Hannibal in, bring him in. I honestly, if it is these players that have got a problem and their attitude isn't right, then drop him. A 1,000,000%. I mean, I don't want to bring up Arsenal, but Arteta's dropped Aubameyang. He's on 400k a week. And he was, I mean, look how excited Arsenal were for him to sign that contract. His discipline hasn't been right. He's dropped him, and it's worked out better for him.
That's it. I'm all for it, completely all for it. And like I said, then the whole fan base will be. It'd be a case of like, we don't know how good these young lads are. We're never ever going to know how good these young lads are, because they're being blocked by, like I said, these overpaid. You could call them all sorts, couldn't you? But yeah, let's just keep it PG and say overpaid players. There's another P word I would use in there, but I'll say that for a late show. And do you know what? That is what players would then look at. They would go, well, hang on a minute. his agent would look at that, his sponsor would look at that and go, oh, you just been dropped for a kid. What's going on? You hold your end of the bargain up here. Oh, you've got to be playing every week to get this endorsement or whatever it is. A manager to come in and go, look, and I said, was there anything in Ralph's contract that he disagreed with the first time? Why did he disagree on that first contract that United offered him? Maybe there's something in it where it could say, yeah, he needs to be able to have more of a say on what happens with certain players. But for me, I would do that and just see, because they're not going to get rid of him. United are not going to sack Ralph. If one game he came out and did that, everyone will be like, whoa, what is going on? And you know what? It's exactly what I would do and how I would approach it. And I guarantee you, Beth, them first team players would take note, because all they're doing at the moment is just doing what they want. Yeah, I got a bit of a ticking off, but it's still getting picked. The moment they don't get picked is the moment you see the true colours, the moment you see what Rashford's doing now. And when Bruno came on, he took it the other way. He changed the game. He sort of implemented the game. That's the reaction that I said would happen if he did drop Bruno and he came in. He would take advantage of that situation and go, look, I don't deserve to be dropped. This is what we create with me on the pitch. That's how I want to see it. And then you'll find out, Beth. And I think that's how Ralph will find out which players are going to be gone next season. And I think he's probably the only way he could probably do it.
Well, this is what I mean. When I look at it, and I think we've said it so many times before, but to touch base on it again, Pep's got complete control of City, Klopp's got complete control of Liverpool. No manager that we have has had complete control of Manchester United, and you never know what's being said behind the scenes. I mean, if the board are making managers pick it'd be gobsmacking to me, but I wouldn't even be shocked by the state of this board at the moment. And do you know what? Players as well, with the attitudes they have got to realise that Ralph Rangnick is not leaving at the end of the season. He's still going to be in and around the club, and he's going to be making big decisions. So, do you know what? I'd be all for him making these big decisions. And I think one thing that the board can do is get behind him massively. And if he did it, like you said, the fans would be behind him. And you know what the board is like with fan interaction. But it is what it is, and hopefully we'll get to see a change sooner rather than later. I feel like every time I'm on the show, I say, hopefully we'll see a change, guys. Hopefully we get a January signing. I know you're not optimistic on that, Adam, yourself, but I think it's massively needed. And do you know what? Speaking about January signings, I've just seen something here from the Daily Mail. The 11 million that the Glazers are taking out is a cash out to pay to the club shareholders, and it's set to go to 6 of the Glazer family, and they're taking that out now, just around the January transfer window.
Yeah,
that is our club, everyone. So, do you know
that is our owners. They don't really care. They don't care what the fans think, what the fans do, or any reaction from the fans. We could have a riot, and they wouldn't be bothered. They've seen a lot worse than what United fans have done over in America, and I know that for a fact from people over there that I've spoken to. It's nothing for them. They don't care. They don't care, and they'll just come up with the same old spiel again. It's like this absolute crap that everyone's just bought into to give them more money in terms of this fan share thing. Who's taking that money?
I know, exactly. It's just there's so much corruption around that club. I think we said it thousands of times. I do think it starts at the top, and I do think until we allow a manager to get full control of the club, I think we're always going to have these issues. I think player power always massively going to come into it, and there needs to be a structure at Manchester United, and it should be the manager makes the decisions and the players come second. And I think that's not been the case for a very long time. But anyway, Adam, thank you for coming on the show today, doing the morning show as well, proper putting a graft in this today. But do you know what? With all the news that's coming out, it's good to kind of get the rant off and get the therapy, get the United stand therapy going. But thank you for being on the show.
As always, loving it. And comments have been absolutely bang on point. Even the Minecraft Adam moment when I was pixelating out there. I did notice it, guys. I do look at the comments, but yeah, bang on. Great show, Beth, as always.
Yeah, always a great show when we get to just discuss the annoyance of Manchester United, and hopefully it does turn itself around and we have more positive things to speak about. But thank you guys for joining us. Get in the comments down below what January transfers you expect, what players you think should be dropped, and always like and subscribe and join us on the next one. Thank you.